like to go into a few of the details of giving tzedakah from the Shulchan Aruch today. In Siman Reish Mem Tes, the Shulchan Aruch defines how much of a person's money a person should give away to tzedakah. Shir netzinoso, how much should be given. Im yado maseges yitain kafi tzorich haniyim. If your means enable it, you should give according to the needs of the poor. First chiddush in the Shulchan Aruch is that the obligation for tzedakah ends when poverty has been alleviated. When the poor's needs have been taken care of, then you're done. And if you have the means, your means have to be spent all the way until that point. And if you don't have that much, yitain ad chomish nechosav mitzvah min hamuvchar. Then the choicest way to fulfill this mitzvah is to give 1/5 of your possessions, 20%. V'achad me'asora midabenoinis. And 1 in 10, 10%, that's average. Pachos mikan ayin ra. Less than 10%, got a bad eye, which is usually translated as ungrateful. Let's start there. It's a very interesting way to describe a person who gives less than 10%. I wouldn't have said ungrateful. I would have said stingy. That would have been the way to do it. Or unkind, uncompassionate, selfish. Ungrateful. Why would the Shulchan Aruch call it ungrateful? And I think from everything that we've learned until now, it's very clear what the Shulchan Aruch means. You see, if a person's taught in the mitzvah of tzedakah, it means you have no appreciation of how your finances are earned. You still think that it's the work of your own hands and your hard effort and your sweat and blood that got that money in the bank account. And therefore anybody who asks, it's difficult for you to give my money away. And they better be very grateful for the amount that I give, even though it's pittance in comparison to what's sitting in that bank account. But it's mine. That's a very ungrateful way to view your finances. And when you know that your finances are a product of your hard work, but your hard work coupled with Hashem's bracha, and primarily that bracha is going to come as a byproduct of the tzedakah that you give, then you have to be restrained in how much you're going to give. The Torah has to say to you, you must give until the poverty is removed, provided you can manage that. But if that's going to put you under financial strain, then 20% is your cap. I know you desperately want to give more, because you appreciate that this is going to be the source of your future financial success, but you may not. You're capped. 20% is your cap. That's the Shulchan Aruch speaking to a person who chaps the mitzvah of tzedakah and who chaps how Jewish finances are built. And the Ramah adds, "V'al yevazvez adam yoseh mechomesh shelo yitztarech lebrios." You shouldn't give more than 20%, lest you become dependent on other people. Again, a cap, a limit. You would want to give more. The Torah has to say, hold back, restrain yourself. It's unclear what the Ramah is adding here over and above the Shulchan Aruch to me. Does he disagree with the category 1, that there's such a thing as yado maseges, that you could give more than 20%? Or does he hold that the Shulchan Aruch holds that even for a normal person, there's no cap? When you hit 20%, that's mitzvah min hamuvchar. You can give 30 if you want. And to that, the Ramah adds, don't give more than 20. I'd like you now, if you don't mind, to go back to a piece of paper where you wrote down how much, what percentage you've committed to tzedakah. And I'd like you to digest everything we've learned together over the course of these shurim. And then think, where would I like to be? What would I like to give? I'm going to be honest with you. What I'm going to say is harsh, quite unconventional. But you're just not in the game of Torah if you're not giving 20%. It doesn't make sense to me why you wouldn't. If you can logically explain how a Ben Torah, who has real emunah in Hashem, can give less than 20%, then you can give less than 20%. But otherwise, how does it work? It's counterintuitive. Do you believe that by giving your tzedakah, the promise that Hashem made you, that you'll become wealthy, He'll keep? Yes. If your answer is no, then let's just be honest. You don't believe in the Torah. But if your answer is yes, then why would you not give 20%? There's no way out of it. Either you lacking fundamentally in your belief in Hashem fulfilling His word to you, or you believe it totally and you need to be restrained. There's only those two extremes in this mitzvah. And therefore this mitzvah of tzedakah, for me, is the telling factor, really and truly, of where you're holding in emunah. In everything else, you can speak about hashgacha practice and Hashem's involved in your life and all the wonderful things and brachas you've received. But do you trust Him? Do you believe that every word He wrote in His Torah is not empty, will be fulfilled? The main way that you can tell that in a businessman is in how much money he gives to tzedakah, and not the quantum, the percentage. I'm not asking you to go beyond the 20%. That's a discussion, that's 102, not 101. That's a different level, but there's something far, far greater than what we've discussed until now in tzedakah. But at least to the 20% level, it's hard to explain how you would not do that. That being said, and that is an introduction, I think it is important to go through a few of the details of what makes up that 20% and what it's based on. But again, I would like to preface it. I've spent my life as a rabbi being asked questions of how to get the amount of tzedakah given down. Rabbi, can I include my money that I pay for house insurance and car insurance? No. Rabbi, could I include my children's school fees in the tzedakah that I give? No. Rabbi, I support my parents. Does that count as tzedakah? If you have to include it, yes, but preferably you should give to your parents and then give your 20% over and above that. But the thrust of the questions are always coming from a person who wants to reduce the amount that they give to the poor. It's the wrong perspective. It's not the right way to view tzedakah. The question should be asked like this. Rabbi, I give my children school fees. It's a huge percentage of my income. Could I still give 20% of my income over and above that? Or have I reached the limit where the Ramah says, Al Yavazvez, don't be wasteful? That's the right way to ask the question. And the answer to that is you don't have to include your children's school fees. Rabbi, I support my parents. I would also still like to give 20% to the poor of the town. Can I still do that? 100%. The Torah says, cursed be the person that counts the money that they give to their parents as part of their portion that they give to charity. That's the first way, best way to give it away. Rabbi, I'd really like to give 20% of my gross income to charity. Or do I have to give 20% of my net income after tax, not to be contravening the Ramah? Now that's a Jewish kasha. The thrust should be, I want to try and push the limits of the bracha that I can receive from the way that I spend my money. I've only ever had one person, a girl, incredible girl. No, it's pretty good. Avos Bahar, it's a really special person. And she asked me that. She said, Rabbi, could I give 20% from my gross salary? And the answer actually is yes. You don't have to. The baseline is 20% of your net salary after tax before you've spent 1 cent on yourself. But there are achronim who allow a person to give 20% on your gross salary. When you get to Shemaim, I don't think they'll say to you that you're a bizbuz, that you wasted your money. Adarabba, you're a mamin. You did business with Emunah. You really chapped what this mitzvah was about. So I think that's the way that a person should approach these questions, with the mindset of trying to give more. Who to give to? You always have to put it like this. Think to yourself, why did Hashem give me the money? Money is a generic thing. He could have given the money to somebody else to give away. He gave it to me to give away, which must mean that this money is destined for a place that only I would see the gap, or given in a way that I would only be able to do. It's a very unique mitzvah. And so the Shulchan Aruch, when it describes the priorities in giving, it always starts off to say, look around you. Do your parents need? They're the first priority. Ideally, that shouldn't come out of your tzedakah, but they're your first. Do your children need? Do your siblings need? Uncles, aunties, cousins. Start moving around your circle and thinking, why did Hashem give me this money? And that would make logical sense if there were people around you, in your family, who needed the dignity afforded to them by receiving the money from their close family, where it remains an intimate secret amongst you, and the whole community need not know. They need not degrade themselves in front of a public charity organization. Look what you have been afforded. Look what Hashem did by giving you the money and not someone else. You retain the dignity of your family member. That's for sure always the priority. And if that's taken care of, and thank God you have no needs around you, which are very rare to find, then you have to think, what am I prioritizing in my life more than others? What's important to me and valuable to me? Where is there a gap that I see funds are needed that others aren't giving it to? And here also, I don't think anybody would ever say that there's rules to this that are so strict. But if you're a person who values Torah, you're unique. You're a yochid. There's not many people who do. Many people will value pure poverty. People who don't have food, housing, clothing, almost every Jewish heart will open to that. Very few unique people's hearts will be open to build Torah, to build kollels, to fund and build Torah schools, which are fundamental to our whole being in this world. Then why would Hashem give money to a person who values Torah so much? Most probably because he wants that money to be given to Torah institutions, and not at the exclusion of pure chesed and poverty. You should give to that as well. But most importantly, always remember, always ask yourself this question: why did Hashem give me the money? Who are the people and what are the causes around me that I can make a unique difference to? And in that way, your giving will be guided in the best way. Become a roideif tzedakah, somebody who looks out for opportunities to give. And the way that changes is the moment you decide, I'm a 20%er, and you set aside that money every single month, and now you've got to spend it. You become a roideif. All of a sudden, there's money sitting in the bank account there which you know is not yours. It's got to be given out. And you will be the person who picks up the phone to the rabbi who's building the school and say, Rabbi, I love this idea. It's going to transform the community. I want to be a part of that. And I'm going to commit X amount every single month. You'll become a roideif tzedakah once you've committed to a percentage. Perhaps when I threw it out there, this commitment to 20% seemed insurmountable and crazy. And it will take you time to digest, but I can tell you this. What we're going to learn together over the course of what it means to be a Ben Torah in business is going to require a lot of changes in our lives, the way we approach things and engage in things. On the scale of life changes, this, surprisingly, is the smallest. It's a decision you have to make once to go with God. You need to get your wife's buy-in and make sure you're on the same page, because it's going to involve sacrifices from her as well and your whole family. Don't think you'll be able to have everything that you want and the bracha will flow the very next day. There will be things you're going to have to cut back on now in order to facilitate this 20%. But once you've done that, number one, you'll never look back, and number two, it won't be hard. And most importantly, the bracha will begin to flow financially into your home, that you will never, ever, ever look back.